What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Okay, we have to talk about this governor's race in Ohio. This is starting to heat up. We saw Vivek Ramaswamy with a lead, 10-point lead, just in August. That has changed, and we have a Democrat that is ahead of him now when we're looking at the polling. So I want to take a look at this. We're going to break this down. We're going to take a look at this latest Emerson poll, and Vivek Ramaswamy, he's in trouble. So we're going to see if he's able to turn this around. So that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, let me give you a little background on me. I have a political science degree. I've been working political campaigns for over 15 years. And so in this video, we're going to take a look at real data. We're going to look at real trends, and we're going to see what that means for the 2026 midterm election. If this sounds like something interesting to you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your family and friends. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. If you guys don't know who Vivek Ramaswamy is, he ran for, and I know I'm saying his last name wrong, Ramaswamy. He ran for president, and he caught a lot of attention because he was, I'll just say, Trump light. But obviously he didn't win the Republican primary, but now he's running for governor in Ohio. So let's go ahead. I want to take a look at the polling, and this is coming from Emerson. So this is Emerson poll. And right now, they have the two front runners, if you want to look at it that way. So you have Vivek Ramaswamy, and then you have Dr. Acton, Dr. Amy Acton. So right now, her polling coming from Emerson, 46%. Ramaswamy, 45%. And so the Democrat in this polling is showing that she is ahead of Vivek Ramaswamy. So he's in trouble right now if we're looking at the latest polling. And let's take a quick look at the sample size. So as I stated, this is Emerson College poll. It was conducted between December 6th and December 8th. And you have 850 registered voters, and the margin of error is 3.3%. So technically, if you want to look at it that way, this 46 to 45, this is within the margin of error. So this margin of error could show Vivek Ramaswamy up by 2, or it can show Dr. Acton up by 4 if you kind of move the numbers around. So that margin of error still puts this at a toss-up. Okay, now let's take a look. I want to dig a little bit deeper here because there's more information that we can gather from this polling. And so in this polling, so we have the same poll right here in December, but we also have a poll that was conducted in August. So now we can see the switch. We can see that Vivek Ramaswamy had a lead before, and now he's lost that lead. So in December 2025, we just went over that, 46% for Dr. Acton, and Ramaswamy has 45%. And then you have undecided here, 9%. Now, when we go back to August, we see that Dr. Acton had 39%, and Ramaswamy had 49%. He had a 10-point lead back then. And then you had the undecideds at 12%. And so we're looking at Vivek Ramaswamy having a 10-point lead back in August, and now that's flipped where Dr. Acton has a 1-point lead over him. Now, why is that the case? Let's take a look. Now, one thing that we see right off the bat is we see 3 points, so a 3-point change between undecideds. And you see those undecideds have gone to Acton, Dr. Acton, as opposed to going to Vivek Ramaswamy. So we see that change. So if the undecideds right now, they're probably looking at a lot of different things, what's going on in Ohio. They're also looking national and looking at what's going on nationally and how the economy is and everything. And they're siding more with Dr. Acton than they are Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, if we take a look at the breakdown of people who were polled, the exact numbers of where they went, who they voted for, Democrat, Republican, undecided. So when we look at that, we say if the 2026 election for Ohio governor were held today and the candidates were Democrat Amy Acton and Republican Vivek Ramaswamy, who would you vote for at this time? So remember, when we're looking at polling, we're talking about if the election were today. This is who I would vote for. Okay, that's very, very important because things do change. Okay, so looking at Dr. Acton, you have 390 votes for Dr. Acton. This is the percentage, 45.9%. What they did is they rounded it up to 46%. Republican, Vivek Ramaswamy, you have 384 votes out of this 850. 850 is the total. So you have 384 votes, and that's 45.2%. They rounded down, and they gave him 45%. Undecided, you have 76 people voted undecided, 8.9%, and that gives us a total here of 850. And so now you see the actual breakdown when it comes to the people who participated in this polling. Now let's go even a step further. I want to take a look at favorable, unfavorable. Okay, now this looks at a lot of different candidates, so it's not, or a lot of different politicians, so it's not just Vivek Ramaswamy and Acton, but I think this gives us a kind of an insight, and we'll go over all of them. So J.D. Vance right now, favorable, his favorables are at 50%. Okay, now remember, this is just in Ohio. So his favorables are at 50%, 5% undecided or unsure, and then unfavorables are at 45%. So he's above water when it comes to his favorable unfavorables. Now we're looking at Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown is running for Senate right now. His favorables are at 43%. Undecided or unsure is 13%. And then unfavorable is at 44%. So right now he is below water, just slightly below water. Looking at Vivek Ramaswamy, his 40% favorable, 19% unsure. That's a that's a large number when it comes to unsure. And then you have 41% unfavorable. Okay, so his unfavorables are higher than his favorable. So he's a little bit underwater as well. Moreno, he is the current senator, 39% favorable. Unsure is at 20%, and then 41% is unfavorable. Okay, Dr. Acton, 35% favorable, 32% unsure, never heard of. And this is something that Vivek Ramaswamy should be looking at and thinking, okay, there's a potential for Vivek Ramaswamy to pull some of these people who are unsure. They've never heard of Dr. Acton, but there's also an opportunity for Dr. Acton to get out there and pull some of these people that they've never heard of her. They don't know who she is. They don't know right now she's the front runner when it comes to Democrats. So once they learn more about her, then these numbers can change. It could change to favorable or it could change to unfavorable. Okay. And then looking at unfavorable or unfavorables are at 33%. Now looking at this, she's above water. We can't look at the unsure because people unsure, they're unsure. But when we're looking at favorable, unfavorable, her favorables are a little bit higher than her unfavorables, whereas Ramaswamy, his unfavorable is a little bit higher than his favorable. Okay, and then Husted, he's running for Senate right now. He's an incumbent. He's 30% favorable, 38% never heard of. How is that possible? How is that possible? But it is. Okay, and then we have 32% unfavorable. And part of the reason people might not have heard of Husted is because we don't really follow our politicians like we should. We should know the people who represent us in Congress as well as represent us in state level. We should know that, city level, county level. But a lot of people, they don't. They don't know who represents them. And that poses a problem because now you have politicians that are out there feeling like they can do whatever they want because there's no accountability. People don't even know who they are. So they can fly under the radar when things happen and say, well, it wasn't me, it was this person, or it was this person's job, or what have you. And you don't even know who that person is. So when you go to vote, you just vote straight Republican or straight Democrat, and you don't even know who the candidates are. And that's not how our system was designed. But, people, we don't do research anymore. Even when we're in an age now where we have so many tools that we can use. We can do a Google search. We can use AI. There's so much that we can do. We can just watch TV and we'll see who these different politicians are because usually the news will cover different political issues. And so they'll talk about the politicians. So if we're just watching TV, we can learn. If we're on the internet, looking on YouTube and all this stuff, if you're watching my channel, you can learn about these different politicians. But nonetheless, this is the world that we live in right now where people, they don't even know. They have a current senator in their state and they're unsure who that person is. They don't even know who that person is. Okay, so now let's look at the most important issue in Ohio. So they polled the same 850 people. And the question is, what do you think is the most important issue facing Ohio? Healthcare. You had 94 people say that healthcare was the most important issue. That was 11%. Education, you had 56 people said education is the most important issue, 6.6%. The economy, jobs, inflation, taxes, of course, all of this stuff is always the most important. I won't say always, but in most polling, when you're looking at the polling, people are going to say inflation, the economy, taxes. They're going to say that is the most important thing. And people in Ohio see it the same way, 374, 44%. Now, looking at crime, you had 26 people say crime is the most important, and that's 3.1%. Now, this is interesting because crime would go ahead of education, probably would go ahead of healthcare. But in this case, it's 26%, which means that a lot of people in Ohio feel safe. They don't feel that, crime is not a major problem with them. Okay, immigration, you had 69% of the people said that immigration is the most important issue, 8.1%. And then housing and affordability, this is another one, 74, that's 8.7%. Abortion access for people, 0.5%. And threats to democracy, 109. Interesting, 109 there. That's 12.9%. Foreign policy, 0. And then it says something else. Please specify. You had 42 people that voted on that, and that was 5%. So looking at the hot issues, we have the democracy, the threat to democracy, which is interesting. You had 374 people voted the economy. And then you had, let's see, healthcare, 94%. Now, this is interesting with healthcare because when we're looking at healthcare, that's going to be a major issue very soon because we're going to see people who are receiving ACA credits, we're going to see their premiums increase. And you're going to hear a lot of news about that. And so how is that going to impact this race in Ohio? Because Republicans right now in D.C., they don't want, I won't say all of them, but you have a lot of Republicans that do not want to extend these healthcare credits. And because they don't want to extend these credits, that is the reason why those premiums are going to increase on certain individuals that are receiving HCA. But in the news, we're going to hear that premiums are going up, and people might not be able to tie the two when it comes to HCA. People, this only affects people that receive HCA, and you might have some people in Ohio that receive HCA and they're not going to get those credits. And so they're going to have to pay more. So this is going to be a bad news story for Republicans when it comes to healthcare if they don't figure out a way to at least, it's going to be enacted because we're looking at January 1st. Congress is already on recess, so they're not coming back until after the new year. So people will see that premium increase. But will Republicans and Democrats come together to extend these credits maybe late January or February, or will they just let it ride and we see just people paying more? So that's something that we're going to have to follow closely. But just looking at those issues as we stated, so you have healthcare, you have the economy, you can even say immigration is up there with 69 votes, and then you have threats to democracy. And so those are the hot button issues. Those are the important issues in Iowa. And so we could be seeing a shift. Ramaswamy had a lead, 10-point lead, and now he's behind as a result of some of these issues. Because if you think about it, the economy, people are not satisfied with our economy right now. When it comes to threats to democracy, you do have people out there that are looking at our democracy and saying, you know what? I don't know if the president should be able to do this or do that. Tariffs, all this other stuff that's going on where you don't have Congress chiming in and acting. So people might be a little, they might be a little uncomfortable with what Republicans are doing. And they might be holding Ramaswamy responsible for that because he's a Republican. He supports Trump. And so this could be a situation where the tie to Trump is actually hurting the Republican. And then also when we're talking about tariffs, we're talking about farmers. You have a lot of farmers in Ohio that right now they're upset with the current situation because of tariffs. China retaliated against us. They stopped buying our soybean. I know they said, okay, yes, we're going to buy more soybean now, but now they're not buying as much soybean as they bought before. And so that's a problem for farmers because farmers are still struggling. And I know they said help's on the way. They're going to be sending out some aid to farmers, but that's not until February. And so you have farmers right now that are struggling, and they might not even be able to manage. They might not be able to last until February. And even if they last to February, they're still going to be behind the 8 ball because this aid is just to help them, but it's not going to give them they're still not going to be able to sell the same amount of soybean. And so in the future, they're still going to struggle. So this is just a Band-Aid when you need more customers. You need more people coming in. You need China to say, okay, let's go ahead and work out some deals where we can buy more soybean from you. If that never happens, then guess what? These farmers are really going to be in a bad situation, and we might be seeing some of that in the current polling. Now, looking at this polling here, and this is Emerson again, 850 people participated. Which political party do you trust more to make Ohio more affordable? Interesting. I would think, before looking at the poll, I would think, okay, Democrats are probably slightly ahead in this situation just because Republicans are controlling Congress. And I know I'm talking at the federal level. The state level could be different. So people could be happy with the state politics in Ohio, and maybe that's what they're thinking here. But when we're looking at the economy overall, usually we think of the federal government, we think about what they're doing to help the economy. And I just talked about farmers. You have farmers that they're probably not happy with what's going on with the economy as a result of tariffs. And so is that impacting more people in Ohio? Because if you think about a farm, you have a farm. If that farm goes out of business, you have neighboring businesses around that farm. Guess what? They're going to suffer as a result of that because they're going to lose revenue. If you have people working on that farm, those people are going to the local grocery stores. You have people moving in. So you have more people living in that area because they want to live close to where they work, things like that. So if you have a lot of farming in one area and you have those farms starting to struggle, that means they're going to be laying people off. That means that the businesses are also going to be impacted. And so in some of these small towns, the economy is the farm. Okay, so that's something else to think about. Okay, but let's go ahead and take a look at this because I thought this was interesting how this plays out. Democratic Party, you have 318. Okay, 318 people voted there, 37.4%. Republican Party, 368, 43.3%. Neither party, 164, that's 19.3%. So you do have right here, neither party, that's basically saying, look, everybody's messing up. Okay. And so this could shift up or down for Democrats or Republicans, depending on how the economy plays out in the future. But right now, this is what we're looking at. And you see Republicans, they have an edge. They have an edge when it comes to affordability. And I don't really know how that's possible because nationwide, we've seen different special elections and we've seen Democrats outperforming Republicans. And I think the major reason why they're outperforming Republicans is because of the affordability issue. That is it. But in Ohio, we're not seeing it. Republicans still have an advantage in that category. Okay, last thing I want to take a look at, I want to take a look at fundraising. This is really important because you need to be able to raise money and you need to be able to get out there and buy different ads and things like that to get your name out there. We know that Dr. Acton doesn't have the same name recognition as Vivek Ramaswamy because Ramaswamy ran for president and everybody found out who he was. But let's take a look here. So right now, Ramaswamy, he has $9.7 million raised, okay? And this is just based on Ohio campaign financing reports. And so basically it says that he has a large war chest early, plus super PAC support. So he has money. He has money because if you look at Dr. Acton, she has 1.4 million raised. Now, one thing I want to show you here that I think is important, grassroots donor base, and then it says over here, over 1,700 donors. And so she has a lot of small donations, which is actually good because she only has, and I didn't go over how much she has, 1.4 million. So she has 1.4 million raised compared to Ramaswamy, who has 9.7 million. So obviously Vivek Ramaswamy is doing much better in the fundraising than she is. But when you're looking at those small dollar donors, that is good because that's showing that she has support from working class people, middle class people, poor people. They might donate $20 or $50. So she has support from those people. And so she doesn't have the same demographic that is donating to her campaign as Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek Ramaswamy probably has the high dollar donors, the wealthy people that are donating. Now, she might have some wealthy people donating to her as well, but she does have a lot of individuals that are small dollars. They're only $20 or $50, no more than that. And so that is good for her because that's showing that grassroots, like they're talking about, grassroots support. And so that's the breakdown of the governor's race in Ohio. What do you guys think? Vivek Ramaswamy had a lead, 10-point lead. Now he's behind in this Emerson poll. So what does that mean? What does that mean for the future in Ohio? Could we see Ohio turn blue? That is the question. I want you guys to let me know. And first off, let me know where you're watching me from, and then let me know what your opinion is on this topic. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.